I'm Lee Byberg from Wilmer. I'm here to speak with you today about the American dream. Have you ever heard of the German dream, the Italian dream, the Norwegian dream? Well, they do have dreams, but they dream about America, the America dream. Why is that? To understand that, let's go back in history and actually review the first organized group that left Norway in 1825. The story before they set sail for America goes back to 7 years before. This is when the British conquered Napoleon, and the British thought, well, we've won one time. To make sure that we don't have to go through the same experience, we have to gain control over the next most powerful fleet in the world. So the British, they went on a conquest, and they pirated the Norwegian and the Danish fleet so that Napoleon wouldn't gain control over it. As the British took over control over the Scandinavian fleet, they also imprisoned many sailors from Norway and Denmark. These sailors, they were given a choice to either become part of the British sister marine or sit in prison. So three friends, or people that became friends, three young Norwegians, they sat on a ship outside of London for 7.5 years in horrible conditions. During that time, they found a book, and it was called The Apologist. This book described to them a new concept, and that is that all men are equal. Whether you're a king or a beggar, the Creator has created all human beings with equal value. So while in prison, while in darkness, in bondage, they discovered something that gave them freedom internally. So 7 years later, they were set free, and they went back to their home country, Stavanger, Norway. As they began to exercise their new faith, that they were a free people, the officials of Norway and the state church, they began to oppress them because they did not like these new ideas that everyone had equal value. Through this persecution, these three men that sat on this ship in London, they began to plan leaving Norway. So those three men and their families and two more, they saved everything they had, they sold their farms, and they left Norway 1825, 4th of July, and set course for the free shores of America. It took them 90 days to go from Norway, England, an island south of Portugal, cut across the Caribbean, got to New York 90 days later, only to be arrested the first day they got to America. Why? Government regulations. They had too many people in a small boat. Well, Lars the sailor, he decided, I've been in worse trouble before. So he sat down and wrote a letter to our 6th president, John Quincy Adams. And President Adams, when he heard about this, he said, this is no way of treating brave people that are risking their life for freedom. So of course he set them free, released the captain, reduced or eliminated the fine, which was $3,000, and those 5 families began moving north into America. 100 years later, 1 million people, 2/3 of Norway's population, came in pursuit of freedom and economic opportunities. That's the beginning of the story, and it happened in many other countries, in Ireland, Germany, Scotland, people pursuing freedom, a place where no one could hinder them in terms of how far they could go, what they could say and believe in, and what economic pursuit they wanted to explore, and so forth. That is the American dream. Now, in 2010, we are facing a battle for what America is going to be in the future. Will it be the free America, where we are given rights from a power above, and we know we have freedom, and we only lose it if we choose to forfeit it? Or are we moving into a new nation, like many other nations, where the state or the government tells you how to live, because you don't have the ability or the mind to make right and wise choices for yourself? That's the battle where we are. And we have to choose what kind of America do we want. As we look at this challenge, which we know is not going to be easy, we are facing fiscal issues that are very difficult. $12–13 trillion in national debt, a humongous burden. Let's go back to history and learn again. In a different time, different nation, there was a young man, a young leader. His name was David. A scribe, Samuel, wrote about David back then and his mighty warriors, 400 men. Well, actually, how did he describe David's mighty men? He described them as people in debt and distress and disconnected. Many of us can relate to that message today, yet we can find courage as before, that when we are pressed, then we stand up and we get the strength to overcome challenges again. So if you are poor fiscally and little money in the bank, you are rich because you're given talents and ability to speak, to defend your nation and win the minds of your neighbors and friends. That the true free America is still a valid concept, something worth fighting for. For those of you that are distressed, have faith and courage that if we apply principles of liberty, free enterprise, the law of nature will again bring solutions that are sound for many generations moving forward. And for those of you that are disconnected or discontented, for many years you may have invested and you're disappointed with both parties, I tell you, this is a time for you to reinvest again for the sake of America and for these principles. So we can learn from the past and we can take those principles and reapply them into the now for the future. So in America today, we are at this crossroad, and we can look at many leaders and decide, can we afford to have them? Can we afford not to have them? The truth is, every elected leader is replaceable. So is Colin Peterson that I'm competing against in my district. He's replaceable like all of us. The American dream is not replaceable. And that's why this is the time where we will fight for this vision, the American dream that is unique, brilliant, and no other nation in history has ever been like this. This is what we are fighting for. Thank you.